Hi, I'm Mr. Baker, and this is Unit 1 Introduction to Biology. Biology is the study of life and living things. The combination of the prefix bio, which means life, and ology, the study of, so the study of life. Well, if we're going to study life, we need to figure out, is it alive? All living things must do certain things or processes to be alive. There's a giraffe. Clearly, giraffes are alive. Sheep. Clearly, they're alive. But what about wool, which is the yarn, comes from sheep, which used to be hair on a living thing? And cheese. Up in the corner there is blue cheese. Blue cheese has living mold in it, but cheese isn't alive, but the mold is alive in the cheese. Is it alive? Well, if you look at a picture of sand at the beach, no. But if you look closer in, still, no, not alive. Then you zoom in and you see little tiny shells and pieces of other shells. And so those were part of a living thing. What about fossils? Fossils are certainly not alive, they're rock. But they used to be living. So we should have three categories: living, non living, or once living. So, is my car alive? And I argue it's a dependent life form, like a parasite. Because to be alive, things must reproduce, and I argue that cars can make more of them. They must be able to respond to changes in the environment. That's called irritability. And yes, cars can respond, and they maintain boundaries, keep you in and not you out, like skin and cell membranes in cars. But you know they have a definitive boundary. They maintain homeostasis. You can monitor the air in your tires, etc. So cars I can argue, do that. They break apart molecules to release energy. It's metabolize, or metabolism. And if you're breaking apart, that's catabolism. And building molecules to store energy is anabolism. And cars, like us, take in fuel, in this case gasoline, they break it apart to release the energy, and they eliminate the waste through the exhausts. Living things do that as well, and all living things have to evolve. It means they have to adapt in the short term and evolve over a long term. So, these are called the characteristics of life. So, is my car a living thing? And if you are listening to this now, you had to write a paper, and I got a whole bunch of you because I deliberately kept this away from you. And these are two of the big four. To be alive, you must contain cells. All living things have cells, and there are two exceptions for me. Those are viruses and viroids, although some people do consider them not to be life forms themselves. And all living things have to have DNA and RNA, which cars certainly do not have. The other two of the big four, these are the most important two, that contain cells and have DNA and RNA. You got to reproduce and you got to evolve. So, to prove my point, I went on Disney Plus and I found some pretty detailed documentaries on cars. And so, yes, they are alive, and that is the proof. That would be our break for quiz one, which you, I believe, have taken or will be taking. We need to understand what science and facts versus hypothesis. Facts are observations about the world around us, and a hypothesis is really an educated guess based upon those facts. And then you run an experiment to test those hypotheses. If those tests come back over and over again in favor of your hypothesis, it may become a theory, which is a well-substantiated explanation. Darwin's theory of evolution has lasted since the 1850s because more evidence keeps coming to show that it is correct. A law is a statement based on repeated experimental observations that describe some phenomenon of nature, but not all. For most things, theory is as most correct as you can get. Levels of study for life starts at the small and moves up. There are, I believe I have 11 here: molecular atoms, organelles, cellular, tissue, organs, organ system, organisms, population, community, ecosystem, and biospheres. And then we've got a GIF showing tissue, cell, organ systems, organisms, population, community, ecosystem, biome, and the biosphere. We have various fields of studies, or the ologies, and not all of them end in ology. For example, here's one: botany, which is plants, and it doesn't end in ology, and I don't know why. Zoology, animals, because you go see animals at the zoo. Cytology is about cells. Physiology is learning about organs and organ systems and what things do in bodies. And there's so many more. You've got a couple of worksheets to do about that. And that would take us to quiz 1.2. So that is the first unit about our intro to science and biology. So I hope you enjoyed. Study hard.